here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more. It's really interesting that you gave this book, your recent book, the name 9 Lives of Women. Why did you choose to use 9?
Well, it's actually a legitimate reflection of the biological stages as I was parsing them out. If it was 8 and 10, it would have been less poetic. So, but still, it just happened to be 9. So, for example, I really wanted to include. So it's the sensual, sexual, and reproductive lives of women, but I included all of those edge stages, like birth to first period, because you don't just arrive as a sexual, sensual, reproductive being when you hit your period, like Venus on a half shell. You've been developing how you relate to your body, your ability to name your parts, to know what you're feeling for a whole long time before you get a period. So I include that as the first stage. And then the last stage is after 80, going all the way through the end of life. There are some multi-omic changes in the way we process sugars, the way we build muscle, the way we perceive things that happen between 78 and 80. So that's also an edge stage of life that has other sensual, sexual awareness needs and also deep spiritual development stuff that happens in there. So sort of bookending what would generally be considered sensual, sexual with these two stages. And importantly, parsing out like all of the research that I looked at was like postmenopause and then you're done. But that means
Yeah.
like nothing changes between 52 and 100. I don't think so. So it turned out in looking at the scientific literature that there are very distinct stage markers. And so I broke those out into 3. So in total, it's 9, and it's just poetic with the 9 months of pregnancy, but not intentional.
Yeah, and 9 Lives of Cats.
And cats, right.
Speaking of myself.
Oh, yeah. But you have more than 9 lives, actually.
I think I have many lifetimes.
Yeah. So also the stages, like when you look at the old archetypes of feminine life stages, they were all defined relative to your ability to bear a child. So maiden was you could bear a child but hadn't yet. Matron, you'd already born one and you still could. And crone, you can't anymore. Therefore, you're moving into sort of the grandmother stage of life. But you were not defined in terms of your own overarching developmental stages. It was really in relationship to your ability to bear. And that felt incomplete. And it also felt unimportant for the 1/3 of women now who say they will end their reproductive years without bearing a child. So, I wanted to really speak to this in a different way, speak to our life stages for us, not so much as just in relationship to childbearing.
Yeah, yeah. And what I like about this too is it also expands for us this definition that we hold around sex.
Mhm.
This idea of you are a sexual being when you have sex, or the act of sex. And what you're sharing is the integration of we just are a sexual being. That
That's
just
right.
is it.
We're an erotic people. We are, and sort of Eros is like fundamentally for life. That the two forces in ancient philosophy around this is Eros and Thanatos, the urge to life and the urge to death, and that they're in sort of a struggle. And to identify yourself as a person who is for life in the deepest way, like you're for sensing, you're for relating, you're for creating, you're for generativity. I think we are deeply an erotic people. And the more we get into our sensory attunement with ourselves and each other, the more we can create in the world, the more, and the less we hold difficult experiences and freeze up around them. So it's like becoming erotic is more than a sexual eroticism. It's becoming for life, your own
Mm,
life.
mm. It is life. Like, wow. Because this is something that I talk about with my clients. I work a lot with trauma and around sexuality and the clenching that happens in the
Mm.
body or the suppression of an emotion. Or I just had a student in my course share around, actually, a couple of them share vulnerably and how to their partner about what was going on inside their body. And it made their sex so much more vibrant and alive and enjoyable and freeing. And it's because there's again we're interacting with what's there.
Right. I like this metaphor that Thomas Hubel uses. He says appliance that takes up the most energy in the house is the freezer, literally in a physical home. And when we freeze our experiences, the effort it takes to repress them is a tremendous energy drain. So this idea, it doesn't surprise me that the minute you say, I'm not going to freeze this, I'm going to speak it into the room, that you become more labile, like more open and have more energy to share with the partner. Secrets and suppression are, first of all, usually no need to, because many people share the same or similar experiences of being in a body. And also what our deepest longing is to know each other in this. And so you tell your partner what's going on and they get excited because now they have an entry point into increasing your pleasure, into increasing relationship. So yeah, I love that.
Or if you're met with rejection and judgment, that's just information for you to discern
That's right.
with.
That's
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Good
now
job,
we know
Blake,
more.
helping me not be Pollyanna. Yes, your partner
Yeah.
might be, oh, gross. But that's a risk you take. But at least you've been honest with yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's the power, right? I just did this hard thing, and I've been doing this lately, having hard conversations and be like, okay, on the other side of that, I did a hard thing. See how I can take care of myself. Here's a reference point of I got me no matter what. And
Yeah.
that's profound. I think we can all give ourselves that. Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.